Welcome to That Didn't Work.
Welcome to Well, That Didn't Work, a podcast where we get together to pretend to be other people, creatures, and things, doing things that kind of mostly don't work out for us. I'm your host and your GM, Percy, and with me today, I've only got Chris.
Hello.
And we are starting, this is the first in a short series introducing our characters for Legend of the Five Rings. After the beginner box, we kind of watched the trends and listened to people on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and just kind of feeling out kind of how much people were listening to our individual content and things like that. We decided that Legend of the Five Rings was getting enough hits that we wanted to do a full campaign.
And we kind of like it too.
And we do. We really like the world. We like the game a lot. And we think it has a lot to offer the narrative world, and there isn't much of it out there right now. So we wanted to create this as kind of a way for people to understand the rules, to kind of get a little bit into the game itself, as well as to provide a different theming of narrative as we pursue some Eastern ideals. So the first 4 sessions of this are going to be basically one-on-ones between me and the characters, just kind of introducing their clan, kind of what's important to each individual clan, as well as their part of the world of Rokugan, and then we're going to explore some specific rules that fall under those particular schools, just to kind of help tease out and explain some of those nuances. Now, as we get into the real sessions where it's all 5 of us sitting around the table playing all the characters and doing the real story, we'll still do some basic rules discussion, but things like dueling, what's it like to do a scheme within an intrigue, which style of combat, things like that are very nuanced, very intricate things. We'll go through some of, not all of, because we do want you to buy the books and read them and play them yourself, but we'll go through some of the basics of how those things work kind of as we move through these individual character stories. And if you guys like this kind of stuff, let us know. Leave us some reviews on iTunes. Leave us comments on YouTube. Let us know through Twitter and Instagram and all this other stuff. Like, let us know what you're enjoying so we can make more of that. Because we really, at the end of the day, we're guys sitting around a table enjoying ourselves, and we want to have fun, but we also want to do the things that people want us to do. So without further ado, Chris, will you introduce your character? Just tell us, we don't want to go through, there's a whole game of 20 questions that you play to create the characters in Legend of the Five Rings, and it's really in depth, really detailed, really interesting, but we don't want to go through all 20 questions. Really what I want to know is your character's name, their clan, their family, their school, and then their advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, so just a few of the questions here.
Yeah, I think that sums up 5 of the total questions, maybe 7 of the questions.
And going into this, I was a little worried, because Game 20 Questions has been part of L5R since it started, but has always been more back and role-playing stuff, and this is the first time it's actually affected the ability of your character, and I was concerned about that. But as I went through it, I found I really, really liked that, because it really kind of forced you to decide why you picked an advantage, disadvantage, not just to get points or because you think your DM's not going to be able to do anything with it, but you have this because your character needs it for some reason or other. It's there for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
So we have here today, I'm going to be playing Kakita Isawa, who is a Crane Clan duelist.
Yeah, and so what is his family? Obviously, Kakita.
His family is the Kakita family, yes.
So who are the Kakita as far as the Crane are concerned?
Well, the Crane Clan was founded by the Lady Doji, and Kakita was her husband.
Okay.
At first, she didn't want to marry a mortal, so she sent him on a quest to answer 3 questions. And he was able to answer those questions successfully. They were supposed to be trick questions, but he was able to answer them all, and she was enamored by him because his sister helped kind of influence her to like him more too, and they got married, and that found the Crane family as a whole.
Sure, and within L5R, there are basically 3 primary forms of samurai: the Bushi, Courtier, and Shugenja, and you fall under the Bushi
I'm a Bushi,
category,
yes.
correct?
Yes.
Because your school is the Kakita duelist.
Yes. He is specifically a duelist. He can armor up and go to general combat, but his specialty is obviously dueling.
Yeah, the one-on-ones. He's calling out the challenges and trying to fight the essentially the leaders of a troop of bandits or whatever.
Or defending somebody's honor. Duels are a way to resolve that as well, and the Crane have arguably the finest duelists in all of Rokugan.
Awesome. So that's your family, your clan, your school. Dueling being your specialty. So what are your advantages and disadvantages, and how do they play into the character background?
Okay. Yeah, these are several questions back here. You basically have 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. You have distinctions and passions are your advantages, and you have adversities and anxieties are your disadvantages. My first distinction here is quick reflexes, which lets me reroll 2 dice of my choice when it would help me out on a check, as in dueling, so it's a good choice for that. And I chose that because question 9 of what's your character's greatest accomplishment so far, and he won a tournament to become a successor court dueler for Lord Doji Atsumori. So that's his greatest achievement so far, is winning that tournament.
Yeah.
So we got the quick reflexes, helped him kind of win that. And his passion is tea. He loves everything about tea. You know, the touch of the leaves, the smell of it, mixing them all together, the taste, the beauty and grace of the tea ceremony, which is an important part of the civility, the social structure of Rokugan there. When any check is related to his passion, I get to remove 3 strife.
All right.
So it's a nice thing for that.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid boon.
Oh, definitely. And he has 2 adversities. Over the first one first, which is Benton's Curse. And he was set to be wed to Asako Narumi of the Phoenix clan there. And they had marriages in Rokugan are more political, kind of like they were in feudal Europe, as opposed to being based around love, 2 people wanting to spend their lives together. But Narumi and Asamu, it was love at first sight for them, and they quickly became one of those couples that are so perfect together it's almost kind of nauseous to be around them.
Yeah,
one of those things. And one day they were out riding their horses through Crane Lands, and they got a little too far out of the border than they intended to, and they were beset by bandits. And Kakita, being an excellent swordsman, was able to fight them off, and Narumi wasn't a slouch in combat there either, but there were too many bandits for them. While they did defeat the bandits, they were mortally wounded themselves. And by the time the Shugenja found them, it was too late for Narumi, but he managed to survive. They were able to save him.
Okay.
And had they both died, they were found in each other's arms. Had they both died, it would have spawned countless pieces of art, paintings, statues, poems, stories. But because he lived, all that art is now not going to happen. And so he has Benton's Curse. Whenever interacting with a character he's enamored with, I have to re-roll 2 dice that were good for me. And if I didn't fail on the check, I get a void point for it. So there's that. And before we get to his anxiety, because it kind of relates to another question there, who is his character learned most about his life? That would be his older brother, Seisi. After his wife was killed, he went to live with his brother and his family for a while. And that's when the devastating tsunami hit Crane Lands that really devastated their crops. And it ended up, again, Asama was the only survivor of this. So that kind of set him off there. They gave him the other disadvantage of Whispers of Doom. So I reroll dice containing success or explosive successes when I perform a check, kind of revolving around, I guess, the rumors of my bad luck, my awfulness to be around that sort of a thing, I guess. But because his brother has died and his wife has died, and he has the tea set that his wife had, her family gifted that to him, and he was able to recover his brother's katana that he lost his in the flood. His adversity is materialism. That's his anxiety. And I get a void point whenever a check relates to my anxiety comes up. He can't refuse gifts higher than a rarity of 3, and he really values physical possessions a lot more than samurai should. Samurai are not supposed to care about money, not supposed to care about things. The only thing that matters to them is the preservation of their name, their honor, serving their lord, protecting Rokugan. Things aren't supposed to have an effect in that, and he values them more than most other samurai do, than he should. So those are my distinctions, adversities, passions, and anxieties.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's basically what you're looking at as far as your Kakita. Sorry, what was the name? My sheet moved. Isawa. So let's go ahead and dive into how you became. So these individual stories are going to lead us to the point where the 4 party members come together. So it's going to be very intentionally like separate, leading into essentially the request of the Empire for you to be where you're going to be, and to get to know the people that you're going to get to know. So the players, or the characters rather, are going to be complete strangers when they first encounter each other, with the intent of them all doing the same job. So while they may have a, quote, you meet in a tavern moment, the motivation behind it is going to be more clear than in most other games, because you'll have some experience with the character. You won't be coming quite as blind as we normally do when we're starting a new campaign. I feel like sometimes campaigns start off a little slow because we've taken a lot of time to develop into backstory, but you also aren't really sure how that plays in game yet mechanically. So hopefully we'll kind of shake out some of those pre-game jitters by doing these kind of things. So
that's the great thing about L5R. It's really easy to bring together characters for a purpose that don't know each other, as opposed to just randomly trying to pull everybody together, the different strings to get the thing going. You're there for a purpose.
Yes, for sure. So we'll go ahead and dive right into your character. Before we begin, though, describe to me, there was recently a tsunami that you mentioned.
Yes.
So tell us more very quickly about the effects that had on the lands of the Crane.
Well, it's made it very difficult to make sure enough food is sent everywhere for the main thing, because they have a lot of responsibility to feed people. They're supposed to be the richest clan in Rakugin, the most politically affluent and effective. But if they can't feed their people, it makes it a little difficult to have any actual standing. Especially at this point, there's a lot of contention between them and the Lion Clan for the city of Toshi Ranbo and the plains nearby too. I forget the name of it offhand.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of argument over those. And with the previous Emerald Champion dying, potentially being murdered, who was a crane, and being replaced by the new Emerald Champion, Akoto Totori, who was a lion, there's a lot of just general strife and anxiety going on in crane clans in general.
Yeah. And now they're having issues, like you said, of feeding their people and making sure their people are taken care of. Crane are pretty vulnerable right now.
They really are.
In the Rokugani history.
Yes, they have the smallest actual army, but they're the most politically powerful.
Yes. Very cool. All right, so you find yourself wandering through a drowned out rice paddy in one of the valley areas of Crane Lands. It's still very muddy, almost like a thick clay. And so we're going to give this land, this area, the entangling effect or condition.
Okay.
So in Legend of the Five Rings, you can give it's very particular on how you're engaged in different terrain types and how they affect the way that the game is played. So entangling basically means that in order to make any maneuver based or movement based checks, the target number is going to be increased by 2. And that's going to include combat and non-combat if there's anything else going on. So you find yourself wandering through this drowned rice paddy, headed toward the meager countryside castle that marks what you hope to be your new home for the next several years. This is the castle that's occupied by Lord Doji Atsumori. Your duels leading you into this position were not easy, in spite of the lower station of your new lord. To be any champion, though, is a high honor, and that is no different. So as you're traveling through this land, the things that we'll kind of focus on for your character as far as rules are concerned are going to be how Crane view Bushido, their kind of high point and low point, which for Crane, the high point is courtesy.
Yes.
You're very focused on being courteous toward especially people of higher station, but even people who are considered like the peasantry. So courtesy above all other Bushido tenets, and to a lesser extent, courage. And so during this short adventure, you'll kind of encounter both of those things. and I say short, I think that we'll probably spend about 45 minutes to an hour covering your journey through this rice paddy. But as you're...
It's a big rice paddy.
Yeah, it's a pretty big... Well, it's more of like a series of farms leading you to this next area, but the entire area has been drowned out. There's no edible food for miles. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing the effects of that. You've seen several abandoned homes, people who've had to leave so that they can go find work elsewhere. And there are some that are still trying with all their might and heart to stick it out. So what are you doing as you're taking this journey, as you're traveling through here?
I'm trying to keep my clothes as nice as possible. Presentation is very important. So I don't want to present myself to my lord as being a shabby mess.
Sure. So do you have like a traveling outfit, or do you just kind of have your Kakita robes?
I have two sets of clothes. I have my traveling clothes, and then I have ceremonial clothes. And same with armor. There's fighting armor and ceremonial.
Sure. So you're wearing for sure your traveling clothes and still trying to keep them as clean as possible, which is proving to be more difficult. The mud is probably up to your lower shins, so you're really like having to drag your feet through it to get most places, even where the roads
I've hiked up my kimono
be.
as much as I can and tied it off and
So you're trying to maneuver as best you can through all of this mess, and as you wander through a particularly muddy field, an individual can be seen in the distance, waiting outside of a small home. As you travel closer and closer to this person, you can see that it's a rough-looking woman wearing Ashigaru armor, wielding a katana with a dragon clan symbol on the sheath, and a wakizashi with a simple cracked wooden sheath bearing no mon, or no other symbology. They also have a sash out draped over their shoulder, which they hastily stuff into their pouch as they see you approaching. Mm-hmm. You could make a skill check to try to notice what is on that sash if you would like to.
Yeah, the art of investigation. So it kind of depends, I guess, it looks like on where you are and what you're looking for. For wilderness environments, it could be survival. For large cities, commerce and skullduggery. Small towns, labor. High courts, culture, government. Markets, docks, commerce, seafaring. Shrines, religious locales. Libraries, be government or theology. Battlefields, tactics. But it does list sentiment as one of the checks to do in there too, where it gives examples for a target number of 1 through 5. And the sentiment there, I guess it's whichever one is most suitable for the environment that you're in. For court, culture would work because it's a high culture environment. For the docks, commerce would work because that's where a lot of markets are. So survival might work for this. Maybe even skullduggery for being she's trying to hide something.
Yeah, I think skullduggery is probably the one that makes the most sense. So you can make a skullduggery, or I would let you make a sentiment check. Either one of those two. It's going to be a target number of 2 because there is still quite a bit of distance between you two.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with sentiment because I'm going to try to read, the person, how they're behaving, how they're acting.
Okay.
Them, not necessarily the environment, but how they're working.
Great. And what kind of approach are you going to take? What kind of ring are you going to use?
I think I'm trying to analyze them, kind of study them as much as I can. So it looks like that's probably more air than anything.
Yeah, air sounds good.
Study them. Okay. So let's pull the dice out here. That gives me a 3 ring and a 1 skill. So that's 3 of the 6-sided black ones and 1 of the 12-sided white ones.
Yeah, so when making any skill check, you're going to pick up a number of black dice. So there are 2 types of dice in Legend of the Five Rings. There's a 6-sided die and a 12-sided die. The 6-sided die is a black die, and it represents your ring, how much kind of your natural tendency toward this type of action is, as well as your approach to it. So you would pick up a number of black dice equal to your ring value. In this case, you're rolling air, and you would also pick up a number of white dice equal to your skill value. These dice all have the same kinds of symbols at different ratios. They have basically a circle that represents success. They have a flame, which represents strife. They have a flower, which represents opportunity, and then they have a circle made up of 3 teardrops, essentially.
Teardrops, comets,
something like that represent explosive success. If you get an explosive success, you get to pick up a die of a similar type, one of the either skill or attribute dice, depending on which one you rolled, the ring dice, and you get to roll another one into your roll. Now, the important thing to note, for anybody listening to this for the first time, you only get to keep a number of dice equal to the ring value that you roll. Now, you don't have to keep only the ring dice. You can keep either the skill or ring dice, but you can only keep, for example, you rolled 3 black dice.
So you can keep up to 3. I have to keep at least
3.
1, but I can keep up to 3.
Yes. You have to keep at least 1 and up to 3 dice total from this check, unless you roll explosive success, at which point you can keep those extra dice. You can choose whether or not to keep them after you roll them.
Yes. And on my skill dice, on my ring dice, I have an opportunity. I have a success with a strife on one of my ring dice, and my 3rd ring die is an explosive success with a strife. I have enough to succeed, but my 2nd success does have a strife, so I'm going to roll the explosion. I'm going to see if I can get one that does not have a strife symbol. And I did not. I got a success, but also with the strife. So I'm going to keep 2 successes and an opportunity.
Okay, so because you used the air stance, you would increase attack and scheme action checks targeting you by 1. If your school rank is 4 or higher, you would increase them by 2 instead. But we're not in a combat situation, but this person could potentially be adverse, so just to kind of keep aware of that's kind of the stance you're taking. So you wind up with how many successes?
I have 2 successes.
2 successes and 2 strife.
And 2 strife, yes.
As well as an opportunity, correct? So air, you can use opportunities to kind of notice extra things, I believe. You can remove a strife. You can act very subtly to attract minimal attention to your effort to try to see them. So you do see what you wanted to see, but you can spend that opportunity to do that. You can also spend that opportunity to learn the NPC's demeanor and current strife. So that could be potentially, you can set yourself up for major success by just kind of determining where they're at right now.
I think that's what I want to do. I want to know kind of what I'm dealing with, I'm up against here, if I'm up against anything at all.
Yeah, so their demeanor is, they're coming off as very assertive right now. You can tell that they're kind of, at the very least, portraying some kind of authority figure outside of this house. They're dressed like a samurai, but you can tell kind of the mix-matched weaponry as well as kind of their general stance that they don't really belong where they are right now. The sash that they were trying to put away, because you got your success on trying to see it, you could tell you couldn't see any symbols on it directly, but you could tell that it was a kind of a signifier of station. It's something that a magistrate might wear to make sure that people know who they are. And so they kind of had ripped that off very quickly and stuffed it into their pouch as they saw another samurai approaching. So you get the idea that they're potentially not acting in the best of ways right now. So, and as far as their current strife, they have 2.
Okay.
You don't know like what their overall composure value is going to be, but you do know, as of right now, they're sitting at a solid 2.
Okay.
So what that means, basically, there are 2 types of health values in Legend of the Five Rings. You have your composure, which measures your emotional status. And you also have endurance, which measures your physical readiness and ability. Neither of those are considered wounds.
Yes.
It's very interesting. Like, the way that they've created the wound system for this game is super interesting to me.
It is. It's very unusual. There really aren't hit points. There's endurance.
Exactly.
But losing that doesn't necessarily cause wounds at a certain point.
No, and you choose
it's
whether
awkward.
or not you take fatigue. So basically in combat, when you take a hit, someone hits you with a katana, it has X amount of damage. You choose, after armor has soaked some of it or whatever's left over, you can choose to take fatigue equal to that amount that's left over, in order to either dodge or block it with your sword or whatever. Like, you get to narratively say, like, I don't take this hit because I did this thing. If you do that, you don't take damage at all. If you don't do it, though, you take a critical strike based on the deadliness of that weapon. And that can be modified by them spending more opportunities and a couple of other ways that they can use certain skills. They might have abilities that modify their critical hit.
And my skill ability does it. I can raise it or lower it by my skill ranking.
Exactly. So the only way to outright kill a character, now minions is a different story, but to outright kill a character, they have to take a critical strike of 16 or higher in order to die. That's a very interesting way to rule, like, wounding and stuff. Like, when I read that in the rule book, I was like, so wait, my katana's not always going to deal damage, and you get to choose that it doesn't deal damage? That sounds kind of strange, but it makes defending yourself and those kind of, like, it doesn't take away your personal skill. I think that's really interesting.
It is interesting. I'm not sure if I like that so far, but I haven't actually played it, so we'll see how it actually works.
Sure. Well, it does kind of what I've always done in role-playing games. Like, when you go to 0 health or whatever, that doesn't mean you're automatically unconscious. Narratively, you might be unconscious. You might also just be leaning on a wall, gasping for breath, unable to move.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this does. It lets it be like, I am so tired. I've reached my endurance limit. I've taken so much fatigue that I cannot continue fighting. So you're incapacitated. You're out of the fight entirely, but you're not fatally wounded and dead automatically. You're not automatically trying to stuff blood back into your wounds.
Yeah.
You know, you're just fatigued. You're blown out. You might have taken some wounds. You might, and you can always decide to not defend, to keep your fatigue up so you can keep fighting, but you're going to take a big wound that's going to affect your abilities in combat. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But let's keep going.
And of course, are a little more deadly there, too. Maybe not as far as the creator John Wick does. His house rule is if you get hit with a katana, you die.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little further than I like with the gamers to have fun with, but I like that edge a little more with Legends of the Five Rings, where you could die at any time.
Yeah, sure. And I think there will be an element of that. I know that the katana's deadliness is, I think, 3 off the bat.
5.
Is it 5? Okay, yeah. Which means, like, we'll get to dueling in a little bit, I think. But basically, if you take
very soon
a strike, maybe very soon. If you take a strike with a katana in a regular EI Jutsu duel, you win, because it's 5 for a win. So even without increasing that at all, with any opportunities or anything else,
well, it depends on the duel, the conditions of the duel.
Yeah, but generally the EI Jutsu duels are like after a critical injury of 5 or more.
If it's a duel to first blood, yes.
If it's a duel to first blood, that's correct. Which is traditionally...
A duel to first strike is just the first person hit.
Exactly.
And an honor duel is a duel to the death.
Exactly. So, but we'll hopefully get into that very soon.
Yeah.
But so endurance works that way. That's in a fight. Composure, which is what strife goes along with, is the same thing with emotional wellness. Once you've reached an amount of strife equal to your composure rank or higher, you can no longer keep dice with strife on them. And you can't do anything that would voluntarily cause you strife. You can unmask at any point and reset your composure entirely, but it's a big hit on your character overall in the story as far as their glory and honor go.
And that may mean you can't keep any decks because they'll have strife symbols on them, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and that's what happens. So it's a very interesting mechanic. It works more fluid, and it kind of feels eerily real world a little bit. So
kind of, yeah.
You can run away until you can't run away anymore, and then you get hit.
You don't keep it in until you blow your top, and then,
exactly.
Then you feel better.
And then you feel better. Sometimes you just need a good cry. So you're approaching this individual. You've noticed that they put away this sash that would represent authority, and you're still on the approach. You're not quite close enough where you can talk in a normal volume to them. So you're approaching this person, and you've noticed all of these things. What do you do?
Okay. Well, I do notice he's wearing a daisho, the traditional accoutrement of the samurai. So my first impression is that he could actually be samurai class. He or she, I may not be able to tell from this distance. So I'm going to call out, "Hail, samurai! Do you need assistance? What is your name?"
She kind of waves at you very briefly and says, "Nothing needed here. Please proceed on. I see you're heading directly toward the castle. Please enjoy your journey."
It looks like there's some trouble over here. Are you sure you do not require anything? I am able to help.
Nothing out of the ordinary here. Just collecting a bit of a tax. Please move along.
A tax? Is there anyone here left to tax?
Indeed, there's somebody in this house. They're simply inside collecting the funds right now.
Oh, fantastic. I will assist you.
Oh, there's really, really no need. And as you're getting closer, you're, of course, walking toward them as you're having kind of this conversation. Yeah. And as you are approaching, you hear crying from inside the house, weeping, really, from a woman. And about the time that you kind of come side by side to this samurai, a small farmer opens the door, tears welling in his eyes. And he offers a small bag with just a few koku in it to the individual. "This is all we have. Welcome." He bows to you very quickly. "Please apologize to Doji on our behalf. We will not misrepresent our tax again." And he kind of bows with his head in his hands and just continues weeping in front of you. Because your role had kind of that opportunity left over and told you a little bit about him, you do see sticking out of the pouch a light blue and kind of the silver that would indicate the crane mon on it. I think at this point it starts clicking for you that the outfit that this person is wearing is pieced together. He's got this dragon sword, he's got a crane magistrate's sash. More than likely, this individual has collected these items from other samurai. They don't belong to them personally.
Very possibly, that's what I'm thinking.
So how do you interact with them at this point?
I turn and I say, "So you represent Lord Atsumori?"
"Yes, of course."
I'm unfamiliar with this territory. Do you have some... may see your documentation?
She kind of shuffles, tries to cover the sword that you've already clearly seen with her hand, and pulls out the magistrate's sash and shows it to you.
That is a fascinating dragon sword you have there with it. I'm sure there's a wonderful story to accompany it.
Well, the story can possibly wait for another time, but I did defeat this dragon for this wonderfully made sword in a duel.
Oh, and you do not think it courteous to return the sword to his family? That is traditionally...
Well, no. Okay. It's my sword now. I won it. Which you can clearly tell is not custom, nor is it a Bushido positive outlook.
Definitely not. No.
It's very, very materialistic, which you can probably relate to as a character.
Yes. So I will show her my sword still on my hip. I'm like, "That is a lovely sword, as is mine."
Did you pull it out, or are you showing?
I'm still showing it. That's not pulling out. I'm just kind of
gesturing to it. Oh, that is quite a nice sword.
It is a fine crane make. I'm sure you'd appreciate that more than a dragon sword. Would you like to try for mine?
I don't think there's any need. And so you're not Doji, so you don't have the white hair, right?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, you do have the white hair.
A lot of crane do that. Yeah, they dye their hair white. Yeah.
So she probably has recognized at this point about you, kind of your general demeanor and your willingness to kind of tuck blades. She probably recognizes at this point that you are not a courtier, that you are at very least bushi, if not a duelist.
Well, I do have the mons on my robes. I have the large crane mon on the back,
Sure.
And the Cranemon on my left side, or the right side, and by my left side where the heart is, I have the Kakitamon. So she would be able to recognize
So she knows what
She's
school you're
familiar with heraldry. Yes.
Right. So she's kind of not backing down from what she's doing. She's got the koku in her hand and just is depositing it into her pouch. But she also doesn't really show signs of wanting to fight you necessarily.
And say, well, you have told me a story of dishonorable actions. You bear a sash of the Cranemon, which looks torn in some fashion. We can either settle this here, or we can go to Lord Utsumori's court and let him decide.
I will not be going anywhere with you, and I don't have to answer to you. And she kind of waves this sash in your face. I am a magistrate. You do not have authority here. So she kind of is antagonizing you with that a little bit. And she's realizing that she's either kind of got to make a move as a samurai or has got to try to flee. And so, but obviously the approach of calling out the weapon is not getting through to her as far as like a duel is concerned. The old man is still sitting weeping. He's kind of wandered back inside, but the door is open. And so you can see kind of he's got him, his wife, and a couple of small children in the house. And inside they have basically nothing. They've sold almost all of their possessions just to be able to survive, and it looks like they're trying to pack up to leave.
Well, unfortunately, I do not find your story convincing.
That is unfortunate.
So shall we settle this here and now?
Sure, go ahead and make a command check. I think it sounds like you're attempting to either reason with or incite. So I think either earth or fire would be appropriate.
I think incite.
Okay.
Is what I'm going to go with. It's pretty much the same dice either way.
Sure.
But just for flavor, I'm trying to incite her.
Sure.
So it's 2 ring dice here because I do not have a rank in that skill. But a success with strife and an explosive success.
Okay, and any strife that you keep because you're using the fire ring are counted as successes as well.
Okay. So let's do this bonus one, see what we get here. Oh, and a strife without success. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep those.
All right, great. So you keep one success,
without
2
the strife,
successes,
and the explosive success with the strife. With the strife counts as a success for me.
So 3 successes total, and you'll take another strife, so you're at 3 total strife.
Yep.
And what is your composure total?
6.
6. Okay, so you're halfway there.
Yeah,
you're getting close. So great. You have assumed much. I didn't catch your name.
Kakita Isawa is my name.
She begins taking off her satchel. Kakita Isawa, you have made a grave mistake here. So we're going to move into a duel.
Okay.
Of course, one-on-one combat. Which means that you've got to set some stakes. What are you requesting of them? And they will give you a request as well, and then you guys will decide on if this is a duel to the death or to first blood. And then we'll kind of move from there.
Yeah. Well, if you wish to take my sword with you, you shall have to kill me, but I will be satisfied with the duel to first blood.
And what do you hope to gain from this?
The simple truth. Whether you were actually collecting taxes, or you were extorting this poor peasant who has nothing.
A duel to first blood for the sake of honor. Okay. Prepare your weapon.
We shall let the blades decide.
All right, so we've set the terms. The terms are, if you lose your sword. Which is a...
Well, I said if she wants sword, she'll have to kill me.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's up to her what kind of a duel she wants to have, to first blood or to the death.
Oh, okay, you've put that in her hands. All right. So she kind of eyes your sword and asks you to... She asks you to pull it out a little bit to kind of examine the blade itself.
Okay. I take a little step back, and I do so.
Sure. Yes, I think I will have that sword.
If you
It
can.
would complete the ensemble.
As a pretend crane.
And she kind of grimaces at you at that you've kind of found her out.
Mm.
So it'll be an Iaijutsu duel to the death.
Yes.
Iaijutsu duels are highly ritualized. Combatants wear ceremonial clothing, so you'll have to change to your ceremonial robes, which she is already wearing. And only the katana and wakizashi are permitted, the traditional daisho. And each warrior must begin with their blades sheathed, drawing them no earlier than their first turn.
Well, it kind of depends on the situation of the duel there, too. If you're in the middle of a skirmish, you're not expected to change your ceremonial clothes to do the duel.
Sure. In the middle of the skirmish, though, it's not called necessarily the
It's still an
duel.
duel. That's
Sure, but it's more of what is it called? I can't remember what it is, but it's got a different name to it because it's a slightly different situation. Yes, so I suppose if you don't want to change into the robes, you don't have to, since you're just kind of out here doing this thing, and this is clearly a Ronin situation. But when fought to the death, the duel objective is to kill the opponent or inflict the dying condition on them.
indeed.
Which is a little bit more difficult to do, but let's go ahead and do initiative. You'll roll a target 1 meditation check.
Okay.
And this will be done using your focus because you clearly know that you're going to be dueling as your base initiative. So what is your focus?
My focus is 5.
Your focus is 5. Good. So you're sitting on a 5 focus, and go ahead and make that meditation roll.
Okay. And we're going to use Void to center myself here.
Okay.
Meditation. Oh no, 2 blanks. But 2 successes that have 2 stripes. Because I'm in Void stance, the stripes don't count against me.
Correct. So how many successes did you end up with?
2 successes.
2 successes. Okay. So let's go ahead and do their meditation roll as well. And meditation is under
Martial
artisan?
skills.
Martial.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so they are going to get, they're going to keep 2 strife. They rolled meditation with fire. They're going to keep 2 strife, which is going to also count as 2 more successes. So they wind up with an initiative total. Now, even though it's Fantasy Flight Games, it's slightly different than Star Wars. You reaching the target number doesn't count, but bonus successes count toward your total. So they'll be taking 4 extra, and you will be taking 2 extra.
I had 2 successes.
You got 2, so you'll take 1 on
extra.
top of your focus. So you'll have 6, while they'll have 9.
Wow.
Which is a pretty high.
That's a pretty beefy
initiative.
focus there. Yeah.
They have a 5 focus, and with 5 successes, they wind up pretty significantly on top.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let me make a note here.
And that kind of makes sense. They've been marauding, and I've been trekking through mud for several days, so it kind of makes sense that I'm...
Absolutely. So initiative has worked. Now we're going to do the stare down. As tension mounts in a duel, even the most stoic of samurai feel a building pressure. You're both going to take 1 strife right off the bat because it's the first round of the duel. You also have an opportunity to basically bid strife in order to increase your initiative roll, if you would like to. You bid between 0 and up to your focus attribute, and then you'll simultaneously reveal your numbers, and you have to suffer that amount and add it to your initiative for the round. So you can bid up to 5 strife, which will put you over your current composure.
Way over my current composure, because I'm sitting on 4 strife right now with that.
Right, but because you're lower than your composure rank, you can do the full 5. So you don't have to stop at what you would max out at. you can go over if you would like,
Yes.
but that's going to limit you in combat a little bit.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so what is your stare down value going to be? So he is bidding 0.
Okay. I think I'm gonna risk bidding 1. Just 1.
Just 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So you're going to go up by 1 in your initiative for this round, which will put you at 7 to his 9.
Yeah.
So he'll still be going first.
Okay.
Now, each character gets to take basically an action. Choose your stance, take an action, and moving is kind of here nor there. You're at range 2 away from them, so you couldn't strike with your katana right now if you wanted to. But your katana is also sheathed. So this individual is going to pull out their katana.
They're gonna strike right away.
And move toward you.
Okay.
So because it takes an action to draw your weapon, in Legend of the Five Rings, it takes his full action to just ready a weapon.
Okay.
So he pulls it out and holds it with 2 hands.
Okay.
Or she.
Yeah. Not for me though, because I have the technique of a Yatsu cut rising blade.
Okay.
I do a target number 3 melee check, and I can draw and ready 1 sheathed weapon, and I can deal damage equal to deadliness.
Okay.
From there, yeah.
So you want to kind of move your movement and go ahead and make that check?
Sure. Let's do this.
All right. Awesome.
So let's see. We've got melee. And this is kind of a bold thing, so I think fire may work best, even though it's not my strongest ring.
Okay. Now it's important to note the finishing blow rule. If you go over your composure, you'll have an opportunity to make basically a free attack on your turn.
Do you want to make a free attack on his turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The way finishing blows work.
Yeah.
When you go over your when you go over your composure, or if you unmask, they get to make a free
That's true.
attack. So it's important to know, especially in a duel like this, when you're coming in nearly blowing your handle already.
I am, yeah.
So it might be worth it, even
Might be better
for you to
center myself in void instead.
for you to back up and do a centering breath roll, kind of lower that strife a little bit. If you want to. Now, I'm not going to tell you have to do anything for sure, but there is a mechanic that lets you do that by taking an action of calming breath. As a support action, you take a deep breath to calm yourself. And if your strife is greater than half your composure, you remove 1 strife.
But also, no, drawing the sword is giving the intent to strike. So by drawing the sword, they've already told me they're going to strike.
That's true, yes.
So my response would be to
To
strike
go
back.
ahead and
then.
strike back. Okay, cool. So you're going to go ahead and move and do that move.
Yep.
Go for it.
So we'll use void instead to kind of center ourselves a little more. This is a duel. This is my domain, being a Kakita.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 successes.
Okay, any opportunity?
1 opportunity, yes.
And how many successes do you need to pull off that move?
I needed 3.
You need
target number of 3. Yeah.
And what stance did you use?
Void.
Used void. Okay, because so the strife wouldn't affect you.
Yeah.
All right, so you do pull out your katana and you slash upward, missing. Only just though.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to keep that that opportunity then and use it to heal one of your strife?
Yes, I will. I feel better having drawn my blade.
All right, great. Yeah, that works.
And again, that makes sense. Standing in the muck would have hampered my ability to even position my body right to draw to them, not technically moving much.
Yeah, absolutely. So you slash up at this individual, and you miss by a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and move into the next round because they moved, you moved.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll both take 2 strife.
And that does put me over.
All right, so that puts you.
That puts me at my composure. Puts me at 6 because I lost 1.
Okay, that pushes you at your composure. So, Yeah, the first time that your opponent becomes compromised or unmasks during a duel, you can make an immediate finishing blow attack. So they're going to go ahead and take that attack.
Okay.
And try to cut you down early. So a character executes a finishing blow by choosing an attack action and performing it against their opponent, interrupting anything the target is doing. The finishing blow resolves during step 6 of the check, so it could happen. It actually could happen in this game where they try a finishing blow on you, they roll their roll, and before damage is ever resolved, they proc a finishing blow that you can do to them. It gets pretty wild because they can take their strife before doing damage to you, at which point you get to do a finishing blow to them.
Yeah.
It gets hinky and crazy, but it's super fun. So
it's
they're
all in the
going
hands of
to,
the paladin.
yeah. So they're going to go ahead and try this thing. And they have martial skill of 3, and they're going to go ahead and use their fire ring to try to get as many successes as they can. Wow, that's a lot of opportunity.
Yes, it is.
They're for sure going to keep this one, and they'll keep this one. And this one as well, because I'm not trying to like kill you in the first thing. I don't want to necessarily. Okay, cool. So that explosive did not work, so they wound up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes, which is a lot.
Yes, it is.
So it's gonna be what's the damage on a katana?
A deadliness of 5.
But what is the damage? Damage is just 4. So 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be the total damage that you will have to block with your endurance.
Okay.
So do you have armor that blocks any of that coming in?
I'm just wearing traveling clothes. I'm in Crane Lands. It would be an insult to wear armor when you're traveling through Crane Lands.
Okay. All right, so no armor. So you have 7 damage coming your way.
Yeah.
With a deadliness of 5.
Okay. Yeah, I can take that through my endurance.
Okay, cool. So you take 7 endurance to avoid taking that critical injury. And that does, so before you have to take that damage, though, that does compromise them.
Okay.
That 3 strife.
That is
So you get to
what
make a
it's like
finishing
to do.
blow as well.
Okay.
As they are coming in at you, you see an opening. As they become enraged, they begin to contort their face, trying to hold back some sort of emotion. And as they're driving their katana toward you, you see an opening that you can take this blow. You can barely move out of the way just in time to strike back at them.
Okay.
So go ahead and make that check.
So I'm using the same stance I was in before, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, because you
Okay.
haven't had a chance to change your stance yet.
All right. So we've got my 1 rank of melee. And
Yes, and you're using just the strike action,
yes.
which is a target 2 martial arts check. I forgot it was
Okay.
target 2 and not target 1, so you're only taking 6 damage
Okay.
from that roll.
All right. And I have 2 successes.
2 successes, which is just enough to deal the base damage, which is great. So that's 4 damage that they have to absorb, which they will, of course. They haven't taken any damage yet. So they'll take 4 fatigue in order to dodge that damage, and you've taken 6.
Okay.
And what is your total endurance?
8.
8?
Yeah.
All right. So they've slashed toward you. You struck back at them, and now it's going to be their turn again. And they're going to go ahead and unmask, which is going to give you another opportunity for a finishing blow.
Okay.
So basically, as they slash toward you, you slash toward them, both of you trying to drive your swords through the other. You both kind of lean to one side, and her eyes catch your eyes, and you see kind of a glaze go over, and she screams as she rears back to try to strike you again, showing another opening where you could slash up and
Okay.
perhaps take her out.
Perhaps. All right. Let's go. 1 success. I had 2 opportunities, 1 with the strife, which I can't use because I
Correct. So you'll miss, but you've got 2 opportunities on a void. You could heal 2 strife.
I think I will. Yes.
All right. So you kind of
back down.
You kind of pull yourself back down. So you are no longer unmasked. They are not either. So unmasking is an action, I believe. So that's going to take her ability to attack out for right now. But this scream as she's raising her blade. So you slash up, you miss, but it is now your turn.
Okay.
You get to shift, which we didn't do a stare down. Because we did everybody went kind of nutso with the losing composure a little bit.
Well, that was the bidding strife. That's the stare down part of it.
Sure. But you get to do a stare down at the beginning of each round. But neither of you had strife to bid. So it works out.
Yeah.
So next up, we will run for the next attack. So it's your turn.
Okay.
How do you want to strike or do anything?
Well, I've kind of seen her style at this point a little bit, so I might be able to kind of feint, kind of lean one way to force fake another opening out of her, and then strike where she's not expecting.
Okay. Is that a technique that you have?
No, that's just the air approach is feint, so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna.
So that's you changing your stance.
Yeah.
Great.
Mixed up a little bit. Ooh, and an explosive success.
Does it still only have 1 ring for your air?
Oh. I rolled the wrong dice.
Oh, did you?
There we go. That's
there
better.
We go.
Still an explosive success. 2 explosive successes, actually.
Wow. And you get to
one
keep
standard
3.
one. Yeah. And another explosive success and an opportunity. Plus another success. Okay.
Wow, that's a lot of successes and opportunities.
That is.
But
There's a lot of successes and a lot of
coming with it.
strife as well. But the exploding dice don't count against the dice you keep. So, in theory, I have 5 successes.
That is a bunch of successes.
Indeed it is.
So you are going to deal 8 damage. So in order to avoid that damage, she will have to become fatigued.
Okay.
So I'm going to look and see resolving a duel. A duel draws to a close at the end of any round in which one or more characters have achieved their objectives. So nobody's going to be dead yet. So let's go ahead with the endurance. She'll take the fatigue. She becomes enraged, and you kind of feint to one side and strike. Very true, being very flexible, feinting to one side and driving your sword underneath her raised arm as she tries to pounce toward you in attack, and you catch her underneath that arm, and with barely enough time, she is able to pull the wakizashi up and block with her other hand as you drive that sword in, and she kind of is holding you there, shaking.
Okay.
Unable to really move otherwise. So she takes the 8 damage toward her endurance, which is going to make her unable to fight. You see her arms both are shaking, her whole body is shaking, and then she finally you feel her kind of letting up, and so you do as well, being the compassionate samurai that you are, and she collapses to the ground. You, of course, are going to be decomposed. That's not compromised.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to take 3 strain, but she is unable to do anything about that.
Okay.
So technically, she could get a finishing blow in there, but I think we'll go ahead and draw this duel to a close. Because she's proven to be a little bit more dangerous than I thought she was going to be.
Yeah, I'm first rank here.
Yeah, well, I just picked a little bushi from the rule book. I didn't build this NPC, okay? This happens to me every time I use a pre-made NPC. So she kind of collapses to the ground, unable to do anything, but she drops both of her weapons, indicating she's not going to commit ritual suicide. At this point, she says, "If you want me dead, you'll have to kill me yourself."
That was the condition of the duel.
Okay. Do you do it?
And I finish her.
Okay. So with your katana or the wakizashi?
With the katana. My watch is still sheathed.
Gotcha. All right. So you run her through, and I don't know really who cleans this mess up. I guess the farmers. The sword doesn't have any indicator as to who it might have belonged to. She probably killed them to get it. Same thing with the wakizashi, although it looks very much more rudimentary than other items of its make. This was probably a samurai who went ronin after passing their genpuku and never returned to their family, kind of became an outlaw.
Or they were always ronin. We don't know.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, she showed enough skill to say like she was trained with swordplay in a similar way that you were. Not as well. Definitely didn't go to a dueling academy, but definitely knew her way around a katana. So you're able to kind of collect all of her things. She doesn't have much other than those, and the small bag of koku, and another couple of small bags on her person as well. But they don't look like they came from here. None of them are dirty. They look like hers.
Okay.
And so what do you do as you finish her and kind of finish collecting at least these people's money off of her?
Yeah, I'm going to take the weapons that she has and I'll return the koku to the peasant.
Thank you so much. Oh, we don't know what we were going to do without this. This is our way out of here. Thank you.
Your taxes are paid in full, though, correct?
Of course. Of course. We thought it was strange that the Lord Atsumori, is that right?
Yeah.
We thought it was strange that he would send anybody else, but who are we to doubt? Thank you so much for helping us.
You're welcome.
And he bows to you several times and takes the small bag of koku, and he kind of eyes the other two bags, but doesn't say anything to you. He kind of begins to walk back into the house.
Okay. I'm going to inspect the magistrate's sash.
It is slashed, kind of not to pieces, but it's slashed pretty sufficiently, and there's blood on it. It looks like, again, whoever she got this from, she killed.
Okay.
So somehow, there's a crane magistrate that has been killed by a ronin.
And it's gone missing. Okay.
Yes.
You have been avenged, my kinsman.
All right. Do you do anything else with this the farmer?
No, the farmer's free to go. He hasn't done anything wrong as far as I can tell, and we can send Etta out to take care of the body, get him off the lands, do whatever they do with him.
Okay, great. So you make your way without incident back up to Doji's castle and introduce yourself. You do all of the necessary cultural bits and pieces. And
I now have to leave my sword with the polishers to take care of. And
of course. And the Doji asks you to recount your experience. And of course you tell him about the road here and how the devastation that you saw, not only in the farmland, but also the bandit that you fought, and that you were able to subdue and kill, bringing one less adversary to the crane. And he applauds you and says, "I've been wondering who I was going to send. The Emerald Champion has requested that a few of us in the smaller areas of Rokugan send new retainers to be trained by the Ruby Champion to become his new magistrates. This is a great opportunity for Crane to show that we still support the throne and that we support the new Emerald Champion. Though, is it Doji Hataru? Is that who it was?
Hotaru, yeah.
Yeah. Though Hataru may rest in peace."
Hotaru still lives.
Oh, I thought, who died? Who was the
Setsume
Emerald
died.
Champion that got killed?
It was her father, Setsume.
Setsume. That's who I was asking, yeah.
Yeah.
Setsume.
Hotaru was the current champion. The Crane Clan champion.
Yeah. Cool. Setsume was the one that either died from natural causes or
Yeah.
who knows.
Who knows? Something happened somewhere, and
May Setsume rest in peace, but we need to show our favor back to the Emerald Empire, and the best way we can do that is to send them one of our own potential champions to train as an Emerald Magistrate. I would like you to do that. I know that you're...
me, Doji Ue?
Of course. I know that you are looking forward to potentially becoming one of my champions, but right now I need someone strong who has already proven themselves in real battle. Most of my other officers are fairly new and have not done real combat other than their trainings and the duels to get here. You, however, have proven yourself on the road without even needing prompting. I thank you for your service to the Crane. But if you would please oblige me, I would love it if you would travel to... I haven't actually picked a place. Travel to meet with the Ruby Champion. There will be others with you. And I hope you find your way safely. Would you accept this?
I would be honored to accept, Lord Doji. I will endeavor to prove my worth and make ready your faith in me, prove myself worthy of your faith.
You have done much to prove yourself already to the Crane. Now, prove the Crane to the Empire that we are still here and we are still ready. So you'll be going to, Palace of the Ruby Champion is probably the best place for you to go to. It's weird that it doesn't have like city names. It just has these individual castles. There are no like indicators of what they mean or what's around them even. Very interesting. So,
or you could just make up a name, the City of 12 Fishes in Phoenix Lands or something, just whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out and maybe retcon it in here later on. But we do know that you are traveling to train with the Ruby Champion to become an Emerald Magistrate. You kind of leave the courtroom with a feeling that's kind of ominous. You get the sense, based on a scroll that you kind of see out of the corner of your eye on the Lord's table, sitting in front of him, that there's more to this mission, to this appointment, than meets the eye. There's a reason that they wanted somebody who was capable to travel there. And there's a reason that they chose a duelist. So this is not a normal magistrate appointment. You haven't done enough. To be appointed to be an Emerald Magistrate. Maybe a low-key magistrate for this area, doing exactly what this Ronin was doing when you saw them. But you don't have the training or the glory and honor to really earn this station yet. So there's something else going on. You're not sure what, but whether you're excited or trepidatious toward it, you'll have to decide as you uncover what those things are.
Yeah. A bit of both, perhaps. It's a real honor to be chosen to be an Emerald Magistrate.
Yeah, for sure. So your character's probably very excited and very fearful of what this is going to mean. So thanks so much, though, everybody. We're going to go ahead and close out this session. Thanks for listening. We hope that you enjoyed kind of hearing the rule duels. I know we kind of stumbled through some of that as we were going. I'm going to try to cut as little as possible. There were some quieter moments in there where we were literally reading the rule book to make sure we got things correct.
A few stumbling places here and there. That's normal.
Sure, and with this being a new game for us, those will become less and less frequent. But we truly hope that you've enjoyed listening to this. We had a lot of fun making it. I know I had a lot of fun kind of writing the story and discovering like where limits for various characters are. Those katanas are a lot more deadly than I really thought they were. Like, you nearly maxed them out in one hit.
No.
And they had an endurance of 12. So that was pretty potent of an attack. And like, you just incapacitated them really quickly. 2 blows, that's all it took from a pretty high level Bushi.
I was outmatched by them, definitely. I have composure 6, endurance of 8, 1 rank of martial arts melee. Yeah,
and she was rolling on a firing of 3 and a martial skill of 3.
Oof.
So she was rolling 6 dice. That's why she was like just absolutely owning you.
Yes.
in every way, shape, and form. But you wound up coming out on top, which is really good because you made it a duel to the death. You would have had to make another character for our campaign.
Gotta do this again.
So thanks so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this one and all the other solo adventures. We hope you learned a little bit about Crane Lands and the tsunami and the things that they're kind of facing, as well as about dueling and general combat. We'll kind of go into more skirmish type combat when we start the actual kind of storyline. But until then, I'm Percy, and we had Kakita
Isamu.
I'm never going to remember this. We will definitely need player placards for this
write this
game
down,
because I will never remember these Japanese sounding names. But thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.